Welcome to the Avanti Woman podcast. With each episode, each conversation, we aim to empower, connect, and build women to move forward, feel confident, and thrive in healthcare, finance, entrepreneurship, and philanthropy. We're glad you're here.
Hello to all the amazing women tuning in. Nairi and Sarah here with the Avanti Woman, and welcome to our podcast. Today's episode is the fourth in a series featuring female entrepreneurs and their success stories from different walks of life. Very excited and honored to have with us today, zooming in all the way from Germany, may I say, an extraordinary force of nature, Renaissance woman, an entrepreneur, artist, Andrea Thiele. Good morning, Andrea. How are you? Or good evening from where you are.
Hi, good morning. I'm very happy to be here.
We are so happy to have you, Andrea. Welcome.
We're so happy to have you, Andrea. I just want to say a couple of things about you. I don't know too much, but from whatever I know, you are just amazing. So Andrea was born in Munich, right? You studied mass communications at the University of Miami, and after which you enrolled in University of Film and Television in Munich. Then you got your master's degree, right? Your master's degree in documentary film and TV journalism. And you directed the docu-comedy You Drive Me Crazy, which was screened at numerous festivals all over the world. Jesus, wow. And then it was shortlisted for the German Lola Award. So what is the Lola Award? It's like, tell us, like, if we were to compare that to the United States.
The Academy Award, I would say.
Jesus.
It's like the German Academy Award. I know, I was like really honored to be on that list. Yeah.
Bravo.
That's
bravo.
amazing. That's amazing. And then since then, you've been creating and directing documentary series for German broadcasters, so many of them. And my favorite, you collaborated on NGO film projects in Haiti, Nepal, Kenya, and the US. I mean, that's a woman after my own heart, you know, when it comes to these humanitarian endeavors. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Andrea. From the beginning to where you are today, did you ever fall into the whole corporate life, working for, companies? And then how did you give birth to this extraordinary woman entrepreneur who's you're making history. You're doing so many amazing things, and I can't wait, to hear about it.
Wow, thank you so much. Well, how did I give birth to this woman? I don't even know, but it's to start. Well, actually I started out and I was a fashion model. So I started out as a fashion model it started like when I was like 14 or 15 or something. And that got me traveling the world. So that opened a lot of doors, right? It was like also like a not an easy time, seriously, because it was like, there's all this pressure that you have being a model and actually also being a teenager, and having these problems also sometimes with your own body image that reinforce that. So looking back, I see there was a lot of positive because it opened doors and made me travel, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when I also then became like an artist and filmmaker. And I saw like photographers, really good photographers at their work, right?
Right.
So I could see that. So that was very valuable. But in terms of like being a woman in that industry, it really did also a lot of damage. I had to undo a lot of the damage that was done, and it took me almost like probably through my documentary filmmaking, through all these experiences, through going out and seeing life and all that. So until I like 10 years that I came home back to me and I started feeling who I was actually. That was just the start. Like, who am I as a woman, really not defined by my beauty?
Wow.
Right?
So that was in your mid-20s that you really came back to that and started thinking, who am I as a woman?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Exactly. And
what a transformation. I mean, I'm fascinated. You got me hooked on that transformation. I mean, I want to hear all about what you discovered about yourself and what you want to transfer, and like 90 said, who you became. How did you make the transition into this career?
Well, so that was the thing, because I felt like that we just get pushed into these roles, into these female roles that we're supposed to play. And it was also like being a fashion model. Everybody said, my God, you're so lucky. And then and you repeat that because you get chosen. And it feels like, okay, it's like good for your ego, of course, a little bit. You like that. I like that,
Right. Yeah.
But also at the same time, I'm like, it's not that great, actually. So it's like the life wasn't that fabulous. And, it had like a lot of things that weren't that great at all. And but everybody thought it should be the greatest thing on the planet. And then I just had to decide at some point that this didn't do me any good anymore. And I had to really like drop out of that and like make a decision and really pivot. And then become like, from that, I became a documentary filmmaker. But I gave up a lot of like, like it's a completely different lifestyle. But I love that because I really wanted to go outside, in the world and like see what life is really about, and not just sit in fancy cars and villas and be bored also a little bit sometimes.
That's amazing, Andrea. So basically, you really, in a way, you were blessed to have been given that opportunity to see that life in the fashion and everywhere it took you in the world. But then I guess you just tuned in into your true voice, deep, deep in your gut, and there was so much more there. And you were so brave to say, I'm done. I'm really going to follow this voice. And I'm going to do something big with my life that really, really touches lives and makes, a difference. That's how I see it. Yeah, that's amazing.
It is amazing. Tell us how you took that leap of faith into an industry that is predominantly male dominated. How did you took that leap of faith, you jumped in, you discovered, you discovered what you liked, and then you took that leap of faith. Tell us about what you were thinking, how you did that.
Well, first of all, I was like in my mid-20s, then you just like don't think so much. You like often, right?
That's true.
It's a great thing. You kind of lose a little bit as you get older. But also I always really listened to my intuition. And that was like, there was that voice that was telling me that to go for that and just try it out. And I was also really ambitious. And I really wanted to do that. And so I just like, I got accepted to that school. And that was like, it wasn't easy to get into that school. They get like I think 1,000 people apply and they only take 10. So,
oh, wow. Which school is this, Andrea?
That's the University of Film and Television in Munich. It's
wow.
Like, it was very small. It's very small. So to be chosen, then I was like, well, I must do that, right? It would be crazy not to do that, right? And so it started that journey, and it was like, I think, it was like one of the best decisions that I have made. But of course, as every decision, it's not always easy, right? You embark on this journey, and it looks all like pink, and then in the middle you're like, it's like different than what I thought, right? And I just like grew into that, and I really had like a really blessed life with great opportunities so far. I have to say that left me like the room to explore a lot.
I want to talk about, I want to hear you talk about, you've done so many films, so many documentary movies, but one of your main focus areas is women empowerment. Okay. So mainly to make women aware of deeply ingrained gender roles that don't serve them anymore. And so you support women entrepreneurs in finding their voice and telling their unique story. I know you have a huge gig that you've started recently, and I'm just so enamored by it. So tell us a little bit about this. How did you pivot and shift into using your influence to give a voice for those women, to those women who don't have a voice?
Yeah, so that came about, I always thought, somehow that I should do something, because I didn't want to have children, and I knew this pretty early on. But I saw there was a lot of struggle for women in different cultures, because I was traveling, to make that choice. And the women who made that choice, they were still seen as something as less than. And as I, the more I reached, like came to my 40s, I felt that kind of like that judgment towards me also growing. And even in like countries like Germany, even in the so it wasn't like, I was like in Morocco or somewhere, or
Right.
like where you would maybe think that. No.
Yeah, that's very surprising, actually.
Very surprising.
Yeah.
Westernized modern countries, and you still felt that.
And I still, because it's like, we have like made a lot of advances, and we have come like far, but in our head often we're not that far.
Right.
It's still like womanhood is like motherhood, right? So these two things are so intertwined that it's really hard to kind of like have one without the other. And so for women who don't have kids, I felt like I should make a film about this, and I should like talk about this. And the funny thing, or something that then hit me, was that I kind of came up against my own paradigm, so to say, that sometimes in like more conservative environments, I felt my voice shrink. I felt myself pulling back, even though I wanted to talk about it, even though I wanted to show up as that woman. I saw myself like not saying anything, kind of like, kind of like trying to not talk about this. Even if I wanted to make a film, then I'm like, I would change the subject. And I'm like, wow, this is that powerful, because I could feel that. I know other women have that as well. And so I started going out and talk to other German women, right? American women, and they're like, oh totally, no, I feel that too, I feel you, sister. I'm like, wow, why don't we talk about this more? Why is that so? And it's like it's like so much in front of our eyes, yet we don't talk about these things sometimes, and so that's when I knew I had to do more about this. And also, like, my newest passion, also create, give women a voice, and teach them how to tell their story, and how to dig for the story that they actually want to tell.
I love that, Andrea. I've been actually following you on your Facebook masterclass sessions that you give. So tell us a little bit about that. Yeah, that's actually getting a lot of traction. And what a phenomenal way to actually help women, to teach them, how to use their voice and speak and tell their stories. Tell us, yes, stories are the most important way to share information and to teach. Tell us how you started that, and, how you chose that specific subject matter of your story matters.
Yeah, your story matters. Well, it's like, yes, it's our greatest tool and asset, right, that we have to connect with people, and also to get a message across. And it's like in crafting your story, what you do, you also, first of all, dig deep into yourself, and also kind of rediscover something in yourself. And I do this work a lot, for my TV shows or in my documentaries, but also with myself. When I craft a film, like I'm doing that film right now, I have to really reach very deep into myself and ask myself these questions. And this is great work to do that. So I felt like, I'm like, wow, this is something, first of all, I enjoy, and I want to pass on and give other women the opportunity to do this as well. And then to actually really see what stories come up. What is really inside of women? Because we have so much to give and so much to share. And often we are just holding back. We're holding back our voices because we think our story doesn't matter, or my story doesn't matter, or somebody else is telling it better than me, or maybe I shouldn't speak up. So these are these paradigms, that are still there. And I think the more women speak up and really, share their story, the way they would share that. And then there's always like that you have one story, and then there's always another story behind that story that actually is calling you, to be shared and to bring that out, because that is so liberating. Because once you break through that and you're out there, it's just like, it's just like you create an effect that other women can do this as well, and it's not about becoming famous or something. It's just like becoming like maybe of influence, so other women can see, wow, she's doing this, so I should do this. And so it's like a collective thing, so that's that. And that's, yeah.
I love that. So amidst your career, this path, tell us, has there been any moments that, it was very difficult? You had a lot of challenges, and sometimes you even questioned, what am I doing? Can I really continue this? I'm mostly talking about the entrepreneurial world. It's not an easy world. You have to have very thick skin, and you have to have that vigor, that courage, that's something je ne sais pas quoi that's going to push you forward always. So tell us about challenges and how you overcame them. And what's your message out there to female entrepreneurs?
Well, I think the biggest struggle that we have is like the inner villain, usually, right? That is like, yes, there's also outside struggles a lot, but the inner doubt, the inner voice that tells you maybe you're not good enough for that, maybe you can't do this, that is the one that you really have to calm and kind of like master, I think, the most. So once you learn to not be so emotional sometimes about things, and even let the emotion be the emotion, but don't necessarily always listen to that, and just know that this is like a part of you that will like, and especially your brain maybe telling you, don't do that. But actually, if you like really listen and you're like, no, but this is really what I'm curious about, and really I want to do that, then just go do it anyway. Right. But it's like that takes practice. And that is something that I've been holding myself back a lot. And also what I've been doing, I've been like waiting for the perfect moment and kind of like practicing certain things or like rewriting scripts to like ad nauseum, kind of like way too much. And instead of just like putting it out there, and then just keep moving and just like do it and then see what comes back, because often you're so surprised what comes back is so much better than what you thought it would be.
That's so true.
Yeah,
I think that's a wealth of knowledge and experience that you just shared with us. I heard you talking about, that self-doubt, and not to do that, and to find that inside of you, to continue, and to also just put it out there, because you're right. I've done that. Maybe Nighty, you've done that, where you're like, okay, is this good enough? But no, just put it out there, and absolutely. And you're surprised with what comes back. What do you, and those are great advices for ladies. Any other advice on, how do you overcome that? And I think you touched upon it, Andrea, where you say you find that inner, you reflect and you find that inner strength. But any other advice on how you get over that, and how do you find the strength to do the advice and that you just shared with us?
How do you do that? Well, I think it's good to become like a really good observer of your thoughts. That's so meditation is something that I started, and I started to do a lot of like Joe Dispenza work also.
Oh my God, I love him, by the way.
Yeah. Right. Isn't he great?
Yeah.
So that is just like, so you can just like, you see things differently, you change, like a shift in perspective is also good. That's also like, just remember, sometimes when you think about one thing and you're like in a good mood, you think about this way, and then the next day you can think about the same thing, and then all of a sudden looks like this. And this happens within us, and just know that. Just notice that, just notice these things, and just become a really good observer to yourself, and then just become a bit smarter than yourself sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. And it's amazing that from an early age, you knew what you wanted to do. Like, you knew you wanted to be in the arts and the film and, whatnot. And then over time, it kind of evolved. You evolved, and your stories evolved, and the stories that you wanted to work with and display to the world evolved, and now you're, all the way to what we're talking about, women and empowering women. I think one of the questions, Sarah, you were trying to ask, and I want to ask is, let's talk about, in your entrepreneurial life, you're funding everything. You have to find a budget. I mean, it's not always the arts and the creating things, but, there's a whole business component behind it, funding, money and whatnot. How did you confront those difficulties? Because I know as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of times that we say, oh my God, like money's scarce right now. So I have to switch a few things around so I can make ends meet. Tell our audience, tell these women listening in who want to be entrepreneurs or who are entrepreneurs, how did you overcome such challenges, financial challenges in your company? If you had any, some people may not have it. Yeah.
No, for sure. I think it's always like I get scared. I have money scares. And it comes just by, taking on a new project, and it's just like bigger than what you thought it would be. You're like, oh my God, time is more, you're going to put more time into that. And I think what I kind of like stuck with, and that's an advice that was given to me, is like kind of like keep something, even if it's like a little, like you have a corporate job or you have something, but minimize it, but keep it so you have at least something that covers the rent, and then pursue your passion, because it just kind of like makes it a little easier while you switch over into one thing than to just like go all in, even though a lot of people would say just go all in. I haven't done that. I've always played it a bit safe, because otherwise I get too scared, and then I can't be creative, because then I'm just scared, right? So these are the things. And then just like, be mindful, and then see also, like, there are funds available for artists, for filmmakers. But it's like also a lot of work to go for that. So it's like the discipline, the research, reaching out, putting it together, make a plan, see where you're going, and then implement it.
Right. But I think you brought up a very good point, because there is advice out there, like you said, where you go all in, but then it goes back to the advice you gave of really reflecting on who you are and being smarter, and thinking smarter. And I'm so glad that you brought up what you said. It's okay to have that smaller job where you can pay the rent, and it gives you that relief, so that you can then be creative and pursue what you're doing. So I'm so glad that you share that, because there is that option. You don't have to go all in.
Exactly.
And if you get relief and it gives you that sanity and balance, do that as well, by having that smaller, that pays your bills. So that's good. Thank you for sharing that. What other, and just to kind of get, I hate to get to this point, because I'm just I'm amazed by you, Andrea, and I think I can speak with you and listen to you for hours, but we don't have hours, unfortunately.
Don't have hours.
But what is that one last piece of advice? If we were to say, what's that last bit of advice for a woman who has this dream in her heart, and she just doesn't know how to get started or take that leap of faith? What is that one last advice that you'd give?
Well, you do have to get started. You just do mini steps, and just do, like, I would always go, what you're most afraid of, just go there, actually. Look at that, go there, because there's something on the other side of that, and then just like try to break through that. And just if you have that dream, you should just like go for that. And as I said, it's the same thing. You don't have to like go all in, right? So you can just like take a step towards that dream, but it's like so worth it than not to do that. I think it's you will regret that. And it's also something, if this is really calling you, it won't leave you alone. It's not that this is going to
Oh,
go away.
I love
I
that.
love that.
Yes,
I do
it won't.
too.
Oh, that gave me chills actually. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
If something is calling you, it will not leave you alone.
I love that.
And I think what you said earlier, Andrea, is if you have a dream, a passion, I think, and you really, really want to accomplish that, I think we have this internal genius in us. We just have to release that. And there's so many ways, so many styles, so many, approaches we can take, work a little bit, like you said, save that money, but then follow your passion. And then eventually your passion will become your life and your livelihood.
Right.
So that's beautiful. I know, Sarah, you were saying it's time to kind of wrap things up. I just wanted to touch on one last thing, because this is, Sarah knows, it's so dear to my heart. Just briefly tell us about your work with all these NGOs in Haiti, Nepal, Kenya. It's fascinating. I've seen some of those documentaries you've done. I think some of them with Michael, right? Michael Kastenbaum. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about this. Just give us a little glimpse to see the eclectic part of you and that humanitarian part of you.
Well, I have to say, I wasn't like such a humanitarian. It was just kind of it was like presented to me, and I grabbed the opportunity and jumped on a plane to Haiti after the earthquake. And there I was. And then I was there for 3 months. And then I started doing these videos with Michael Kastenbaum together, who happened to be also there. It kind of like organically, happened. But then I just like really fell in love with that work, because there's nothing better than that. Actually.
Yes.
So it's so rewarding. It's so much. And when you see that, and when you see the resilience of people and what people can do, that is amazing. The human potential, seriously, is really, like, sometimes we say that it's like limitless, but actually in these disaster zones, you really see that. You really see, you get to the pulse of life, and you connect to something that's so much higher than we usually think, or it's usually even notice. And that is like, that makes that work not like work, or like I'm actually, I feel blessed to have given the opportunity to be able to do something like this and experience that.
Right.
That's beautiful.
That is
well,
beautiful.
Andrea Thiele, all the way from Germany, Munich, thank you so much for, sharing your beautiful story with us. I know you have the master class that you're teaching. Am I right about Your Story Matters? You can tell our audience how they reach you. How can they sign up and be part of that? Or if it's still being offered, I'm not sure.
Yes. I'm always giving master classes. I will start doing master classes again in October.
Okay.
And this is on a weekly basis, and you can find me on Facebook. There will probably be a link here in the notes, right?
Yes, we can put that in. Absolutely.
And then you connect with me, and then just sign up, and then you can just join me on one of these free master classes and see what it's all about.
Well, beautiful.
I'm signing up. I know that.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This was Andrea Thiele, filmmaker, entrepreneur, visionary, who believes that the best way to live your life is to be authentic and to tell your story, because your story matters. With all that said, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all podcast streaming channels, YouTube. And we look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, have a blessed day and take care of each other.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. For more engagement, you can find us at the Avanti Woman on all social and media platforms. Follow us on Instagram, join our community group on Facebook to chat, subscribe to our YouTube for our latest videos. You can rate us 5 stars on Spotify and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you for helping us reach even more Avanti women just like you.